Mayor of Carthage here, bringing you a Napoleon Total War online commentary battle. I am playing as Great Britain. My army consists of 6 light foot, so I have a heavy light infantry component, and they are engaging my opponent's Silesians Schutzen here on my left flank. It would be his right flank. My opponent is playing as Prussia. I believe he has, I want to say somewhere between 4 and 5 units of those Silesian Schutzen, which have a better range and morale than my skirmishers, but I have a huge number of skirmishers. You can see my opponent's units only have 60 men each, and my units have 90 men each. He only has 4 by the looks of it, and I have 6 units. So I have 450 skirmishers to my opponent's 240. So his quality of the skirmishers is not going to be able to make up the difference. My opponent's line infantry element is made up of, I believe, 3 foot guards and 4 line infantry. He has 2 of his foot guards here holding his right flank, so he wanted a strong anchor here. His cavalry is 2 units lancers, 1 cuirassier, and another freikorps. So his freikorps and 1 of his lancer units are on my right flank, and his other 2 units are on my left flank. My opponent placed these stakes here, and that doesn't really cause me a whole lot of trouble, but at the end of the battle it kind of makes something funny happen. Here I moved my skirmishers up and started taking pot shots at his foot guards. I definitely want to kill as many of his foot guards as possible. These are expensive units, and if I can kill them with my inexpensive skirmishing units, then my opponent has suffered a great loss. Now I'm going to do a little bit of commentating while this battle is going on. You can see I'm pulling back my skirmishers here. And my comments are going to be regarding Napoleon Total War versus Empire Total War. Some people have asked me which game is better. Well, you see, that's a tough call for me. If you look here on the screen, the effects on Napoleon Total War are much, much better. The smoke effects, the grass, the cannons, the muskets, the sound effects, everything. All those effects are much better on Napoleon Total War. However, that being said, Napoleon Total War is very unbalanced. What do you mean by that, Air? Well, what I mean is they've kind of nerfed down light infantry. They've taken out fire by rank and made the reloading time almost 0 for your line infantry. So when I say unbalanced, it means that line infantry, especially elite infantry, takes a supreme role in the game. They can reload so fast that cavalry is not a threat to them because they can simply go into square, and by the time the cavalry can even turn around and start to run away, they're going to get kills. Light infantry, the range has been nerfed on most of the units, and also their accuracy, despite it says them being accurate, they hit very little from long distances. So light infantry's role has been greatly reduced. And cavalry in Napoleon Total War has taken nearly a back seat to infantry, which is unfortunate. So, in an overall comparison, Empire Total War has much more balanced gameplay. Much, much more balanced gameplay. And the tactics on it, to me, are a lot more fun than the tactics on Napoleon, simply because the reloading time adds an element to the game that would have been in place in real life. Reloading was a major issue in musket armies. As that, reloading time was critical. The quicker your units could reload, the quicker they could fire, and you could run cavalry charges in and whatnot when your opponents were reloading or repositioning. On Napoleon, line infantry can fire almost like they just have a bolt-action rifle, and that's really unrealistic for this time period. Now, what does it lead to? It leads to much more fluid battles, which is kind of handy. But it comes at the expense of a lot of realism, which to me is quite annoying. So which game is better overall? Well, it's hard to say. Like I said, the effects on Napoleon Total War are so much better that I want to say Napoleon Total War. But after having played Empire Total War for the first time in a long time last night, I must say that Empire Total War really is a better game as far as just balance and gameplay is concerned. Now here I got kind of mad. My opponent did this crazy bonsai cavalry charge into 2 of my cavalry units, 1 of my foot units, and 1 of my light infantry units. Well, my light infantry unit routed, and his cavalry made off with only about 15 losses. And each one of my cavalry units lost way more than that. So it's just really, really annoying. I don't know how he got away with that, but he did get away with it, and it kind of upset my cavalry balance on this flank. Now I'm trying to focus on two main points of action in this battle, and that is both of my flanks is where all the action's taking place. The center is relatively slow because I have my opponent outgunned in the center with my light infantry. So my opponent gets some crack shots off on my my cavalry and ends up routing them, like right here. And then my other cavalry, I wanted him to run up on here, but I forgot you have that little plateau that he's taking advantage of. So my men were trying to go around, and by the time I realized that they're screwed, yeah, they're screwed. So my opponent takes out my cavalry on this flank, and then he starts to push down his line infantry, seeing the advantage that he's temporarily given himself. Now I formed some men into square here, my Highland foot, in an attempt to kill some of his cavalry. But once again, his cavalry manages to make it away with almost no losses from my square, which is rather annoying, because anytime I get anywhere near a square, I usually take massive losses. So I go ahead and pull my infantry back, and I'm going to have to make a new plan on that flank. So far the battle's really not necessarily going in my favor, other than the light infantry fight. And in the light infantry fight, I'm giving his men a pretty good pummeling. So, alright, so like I said, in the fight, my light infantry is beating my opponent in the center. On my left flank, my opponent's right flank, he keeps getting in these annoying cavalry charges, but fortunately, it says my men are inside this building, so a lot of my men managed to get away from that. And basically, having my men in the building just serves to hold my opponent's attention, and without artillery in the battle, which was a rule that my opponent suggested, it causes my opponent to really have a hard time getting my men out of the building. So here he's chasing off some of my light infantry, and I'm pulling them back in an attempt to save him, and finally I get some hits on his cavalry and kill a large number of them. So I got quite a few at that point. You can see my line infantry returning fire there, and now running back towards the hill. Now this is going to be a long commentary because it was a very long battle, but I wanted to get my bit in about Empire Total War and Napoleon since someone had asked me, and I was also trying to get you some nice close-up views of the battle, which is what you all usually ask for. So here's my troops pushing up the hill towards this building here. Looks like a farmhouse or something. So I want to push my advantage on this flank, which is I have more men, and I have good light infantry holding my center, so my opponent really can't make a move on my center. And my men in this building, like I said, are getting beat up by his foot guards that decided to come in the building, and since mine are only light foot, yeah, that's going to take care of that. But I do end up killing some of my opponent's foot guards in the process, so I guess it's kind of worth it holding a foot guard's attention with just light infantry. So my opponent's going to bring in yet more cavalry on a charge, and I'm getting sick of his cavalry charges because I keep trying to put my men in square, but this time I finally made it into square, and his cuirassiers are going to get killed here. So good riddance. Sick at dealing with this filthy Austrian or Prussian cavalry. My opponent has used his cavalry to pretty darn good effect thus far. But unfortunately for me, my opponent is going to push his foot guards up onto that hill, as you can see, and they're going to start pounding my Highland foot, and they're in square. So now I have to reform all the while my opponent's infantry is firing. Now let me give you an idea of the extremely short reload time. Let's watch one of these guys reload. So this guy just fired. Let's watch how long it takes him to reload.
Our men are running, sir.
Well, he repositioned his guys, so it's going to end up taking longer. You can see there's pretty much a constant stream of fire coming out, and this could be done in real life, but only if your men were very talented reloaders and you had it timed extremely well. In Empire Total War, I actually really liked the longer reloading times, coupled with the fire by rank. It made for a much more interesting sort of fighting, in my opinion. So here I started to charge some men forward, and once again my opponent sends down an annoying cavalry charge off the hill, and my answer is to quickly run my men into that building, and I ended up making it. So my men outside here are fighting these horsemen. Some of them don't get into the building, but some of my men do get in the building. And that effectively causes my opponent's horses quite a few losses. And he sends them running off towards my light infantry, no doubt. Like I said, my opponent's horses got a lot of kills. And so I run all of my men into this house that I can get in there. Some of them decide to stay outside and fight for whatever reason. But now that my men are protected by the structure, they're going to be extremely hard to get out of there without my opponent wasting a lot of men and a lot of ammunition. So here I'm getting pretty much some nice kills on these foot guards that are attempting to leave. You can see this house has been the subject of much slaughter.